What's up, everyone? It's CTD from C2 Wrestling. Before we get into today's video, I got to give you guys a heads up. January 6th, the Netflix debut of Monday Night Raw. We are going live again right here on our YouTube channel. We went live for the last two PLEs. It was such a fun time, a lot of funny moments. You don't want to miss it. This show is going to be huge. They're treating it like a WrestleMania level Raw. We're going live. Come talk wrestling with us. Enjoy the show, the surprises, the big moments. We'll be live for it. Come hang out with us right here on C2 Wrestling. But now, let's get into the video.
What's up, everybody? C2 Wrestling coming at you again. Another Raw in the books. Good Raw, nothing too crazy. I want to get right into it to start our show. We're going to start with the beginning of Raw, Punk and Rollins. What'd you think?
Yeah, I know you said nothing too crazy. It's on paper crazy, the things that
Yeah,
happened.
sure.
They just all kind of were expected, so it doesn't feel as crazy.
Yeah.
They said we're getting a Mania level show
Mhm.
for the debut on Netflix. I mean, this is literally last year's WrestleMania main event night one.
Yeah.
We're getting it
Yeah.
on Raw.
Free. Well, like $20 a month, but
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
free.
yeah, yeah.
you know, like I said nothing too crazy because, like you said, on paper it is kind of crazy. Things were going to be predicted to happen, but it is still all kind of build up to that show, that January 6th Raw. So it was a good show tonight. I have no complaints from top to bottom, but it was a little build up again, in my opinion. But it was a good build up. It wasn't just filler to kind of get there. The things that happened mattered. We'll get into the later of the show as we go on, but Punk and Rollins, like you just said, that's a Mania main event that we're getting on. I was going to say cable TV, but streaming
I
free.
mean,
It's just crazy to think.
just thinking about it now, you said main event. What the hell is going to main event this Netflix show? I mean, you've got Roman Solo that could easily main event. Punk Rollins that could easily main event. There could be a world title or WWE title match that could main event. The Rock could show up, or Cena's coming back. That could be the main event. Like
Yeah, I mean,
this is like Mania where there's like five main events.
yeah, I mean, when you got Punk on the card, in the feud he is in with Rollins, I really think that is the rightful main event for that episode of Monday Night Raw. But I'm not going to be surprised when it's tribal combat, whatever they're calling it, Roman Solo, some sort of Rock involvement. I don't know. Who knows where it's going? But that is probably what ends the show on that Raw. It could be anything though. If they were to do Punk Rollins or a Gunther match or whatever in the show, I'm not going to go, "Wow, that's crazy." I'm going to go, "Yeah, I mean, I get it," because it's all main events on that episode. It's all main events.
I mean, we'll get into everything later on, but just obviously we got Punk Rollins, we have
Mm-hmm.
Roman Solo, you have the finals of the women's IC tournament.
Yep.
I don't know if they officially announced Rhea versus Liv for that specific Raw, but they said that match is made. I'd assume that's made
I would
for.
have met. It should be on Raw
I
too.
would.
Get it
I
out of
would.
the way.
Yeah, I would assume it's on this Raw.
Yeah.
I'm missing a match that
Tribal Combat, IC, Rollins Punk.
potential women's title match. Oh, potentially Finn versus Priest.
Oh, pretty. Yeah.
That could also happen on Raw. But it's like I feel like if Punk Rollins doesn't main event, it's people's main event in that aspect. I do. I have a weird feeling.
Mhm.
There's just no way Punk and Rollins only face once.
Oh no, not a shot at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they run it back at Mania again. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, so like the piece of me is like, do we get the full like Rollins isn't technically a heel, but does he like low blow Punk and that's how he beats him or something? Like it's we talked about Cody and Owens being in the first inning basically.
Yeah.
This feud feels like they took warm-ups
Mm-hmm.
and warm-ups was gearing up for last year's Mania, and then they got a rain delay and it got postponed to a later date.
Yeah.
And now they just took the mound for the top of the first inning, even though this game will go into the scorebooks as a game from 6 months ago, it's being played now. That's where it feels like we're at. We still have all 9 innings of this feud. There is
Absolutely.
so much to go with these two.
I can definitely envision a world where Punk beats Rollins clean on this January 6th Raw. And, the Rumble's pretty soon thereafter, but not even maybe the Rumble. Maybe it's the Chamber. Maybe they have a confrontation in the Rumble that furthers the feud. Maybe both of these guys are in the Chamber. Maybe that's how you sell Elimination Chamber in March, is you put Punk in the match. And maybe that, neither of these guys win the Chamber, but that furthers that leg of the feud. Again, it's built for more than one match. They would be crazy to do one and just move on. And yeah, there's a lot of avenues for a few of these guys. If you weren't going to do Punk Rollins at Mania, you got plenty of options for Punk. Rollins has been around the block a few. Yeah, maybe his options are still a bit more slim, but there's somebody out there that could put on a great show at Rollins. So if they're not going to go that route, they have options, sure. But why not? Why not run it back? I'm sure they're going to put on a banger on Netflix. Why not run it back at WrestleMania?
We're going to get into the rest of Raw, but I have to ask you,
Yeah.
what is playing on your TV? It looks like there was 9 different colors
that was
just
actually
that just
that
hit you in
was
the face.
that was an NBC commercial for the football games coming up.
Oh, I
Actually,
thought it was going to be like a movie or
yeah.
something.
No,
Like
no,
it
no.
looked like an
I just
action movie's lights.
I left Raw on, so that's just the whatever came after Raw. That was actually a commercial, and now my
Oh
remote
wow.
is dead,
I
so I
didn't
can't change
no.
it. So
I literally it was completely normal until that specific moment. I was like, whatever movie he's got on in the background just reached
what
out.
we were doing a podcast, I think it was not too long ago, where I got flash banged in the middle
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But back on Raw,
yeah.
Punk Rollins. I just love there's still plenty of promos to go between the two,
Mm-hmm.
but I just love the man, it's on site feeling. That's how it was kind of with
So it
Punk
should
and
be.
Drew. Like that's how this rivalry is. It's how it
Mm.
was. It's get it together, man. No free shout outs. What are you doing over there?
TV just unmuted in the middle of us doing a video. I didn't hit the button.
Yeah.
Anyways, it should be on site. Punk and Rollins, that should be the type of feud where, maybe Punk comes out and cuts a small promo. Maybe Rollins does the same. But the second the other guy comes out, let's go. Let's fight. It shouldn't be anything less than that. Right now, again, this is the first inning. Maybe in inning 3, 4, 5, 6, there's a different layer to the feud where these guys act a bit differently. I've said this in the past. I've said this even pre C2, before C2 wrestling. WWE loves trilogies right now. They're big on trilogies. Brock Cody is one of the most recent trilogies. Roman Cody, they're going to go at it again eventually. Trilogies. If you run Punk Rollins January 6th, Punk McIntyre, you can easily run back Punk Rollins at the Rumble, at the Chamber, at Mania, culminating at WrestleMania, of course. That would be the best suited place to end it, would be WrestleMania. I guess there is a level where they can, maybe that's match number 2 is at WrestleMania, but I don't know if it holds the same worth for them to run back match 3 at Backlash or Money in the Bank or wherever. I think this feud has to end at Mania, but I'm okay with them running it dry until then. This is great, in my opinion. There's a feud we'll talk a little bit on in a couple of moments, but Rhea, Liv, I'm going to compare it to, where they've been going at it forever at this point. I'm tired of it. It's fine, but let's move it along. So it's
not
kind
fine.
of it's end it. Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I'm sitting here saying Punk Rollins run it forever, but in 7 months I'd probably be like, all right, let's move it along. These guys can be doing other things. But for now, give me all the Punk Rollins content you can give me.
WWE loves to not only do trilogies, but they also love to do recently, like you have kind of a feud and then you kind of get separated for a little bit and then you get back together. So I'm not
Reese
saying
Gunther.
Priest Gunther, it's similar. I had another Gable Gunther.
Yep.
They did it. They're doing it right now with Alpha Academy and American Made. Like they kind of draw back to get that story. Priest Finn, again, like you kind of fade away, and then it comes back. That's very possible with this Punk Rollins. The problem is it might be so good that you can't really wait. The only solution is they're facing here. you have the Rumble, which is kind of like the ultimate everyone's feuding with everyone.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is going to go until SummerSlam, but it's not impossible that you were to have Punk Rollins ends on Raw. You go into the Rumble build and they kind of go their separate ways a little bit. Maybe even the Chamber, they come back together a little bit. Hell, say Punk wins the Rumble and he's facing Cody or, Gunther, whatever. And then they get brought back together for that run right after Mania. Like anything can happen with how they do these little stretches where rivalries start, fade away, and then come back and get a big payoff.
Yeah, I mean, let's also not forget. I still believe it's a little shoehorned in there, but there's a Saturday night's main event in between January 6th Raw and the Royal Rumble. Who's to say this match ends on Monday Night Raw? You would imagine it does. It's a big show. They're treating it like pay per view. I don't know if this is going to be the false finish match, but who's to say this isn't one of those matches where it's a no contest? They're just beating the pulp out of each other. So then they run it back at Saturday night's main event in a street fight. Who knows? Something crazy. The Rumble, as much as fans are not going to want to hear it, that's a 4-match card, if we're being honest. You got 2 Rumble matches that are taking at least an hour. They're maybe getting 2 more matches in there, sure. Saturday night's main event is the filler for that. So I can absolutely see them, if they're going to run Punk Rollins back at all, maybe it fits in there.
Yeah, and the reports today were Saturday Night's Main Event did pretty damn well ratings wise. It seems better than the NBA game
Collision.
that was
Oh.
on the exact. Well, I mean, TR Schools does better than that. So, so the ratings, you kind of want to keep those deliver again. You put a big name, big matchup like Punk Rollins. I mean, that is guaranteed eyeballs, but we'll wrap Punk Rollins there because
Mhm.
there's going to be so much to talk about with
Yeah.
them that I know we don't have to harp on it. There's going to be
Mhm.
plenty of time. We've mentioned Rhea and Liv, ready for this to end, ready for this story to be wrapped up.
Yeah.
This feels like it could have been finished 2 months ago. I
Mhm.
get trying to hold it off to this big mania like Raw, but this is one where I'm like, I think I'm actually excited for the match just because I know this should be the end of it.
The end of it. Yeah. This is one of those after the match, you separate Rhea and Liv, you put them on other brands. They don't come face to face for 2 more years at least. They've run their course. They had if I'm being honest, a forgettable tag stint together. This is under a different regime. Don't get me wrong. Forgettable tag run, but they were aligned at a point. They had a little feud, and now they had this whole mega Judgment Day thing. It was good. It's been great. Even though it's run its course, when it's done on Monday, January 6th, it will still be great in hindsight. But good God, end it. Let's move it on. Let's move
Yeah.
along.
Raw had a couple other little things that we're not going to spend much time on, but Intercontinental title match, another great match. Braun
Great
Breaker,
match.
Ludwig Kaiser. It's that group of people that we've talked about. Like you can have them face every week. The match is
Yeah.
still going to be good no matter what.
I do got to say 2 things about that match that I love. I loved the little spot where Ludwig did the run around the ring and he couldn't find Braun, and Braun came back running around. I wish Braun hit him with a spear, though, instead of a shoulder block. It would have been a lot better. Secondly, it's not even really revolving the match, but it's revolving Ludwig Kaiser, who is in the match. Put some respect on Ludwig Kaiser's name. Listen, we are here at C2 Wrestling. We're being a dead horse here by telling you guys this is a stand account for our man Gunther. Now, Ludwig Kaiser, he falls right in line, if I'm being honest. I love my boy Ludwig. He is, in my opinion, like that is the guy you have a mid-card title for. He is the guy that's the next stepping stone to something greater. Keep him in the mid-card feuds. He doesn't have to win a title yet. Eventually he will. He has a lot of room to shine, in my opinion.
Completely agree. And I mean, so many legends speak his praise, mainly The Undertaker, that you know it's coming. Like
Yeah.
he is great. You know that big skyrocket is coming at some point. So solid match again between them. Think Braun needs something a little bit different, but this little shake up transfer window will help that for sure. Getting him some fresh faces to face.
Well, let me ask you. Who's the fresh face? Who's your fresh face that you would have Braun Breaker face? They're going to start a new Braun Breaker feud on that January 6th Raw. Who do you have him start a feud with?
Man,
It could be anybody with a transfer window. It could be anybody.
it could be as much as like this is gonna sound bad because this guy would lose, but
Mm-hmm.
man, I'd love me some Braun Carmelo again.
That yeah, Braun Carmelo would be great. Braun definitely goes over in that
Yeah.
situation, so Carmelo would take the L, but that would be great. It is tough. There's not a lot of names that immediately come to mind. It seems like Braun's going to hold the title for a bit longer too, so you almost don't want him to go against that guy that you ultimately might have him lose to down the line. But a name that comes to mind, and listen, there's no guarantee to this name, but we did get a little vignette tonight too. I think we might be getting Pentagon soon, if I'm correct. Zero Fear, it lines up to the vignette. Why not speedball him into a feud for the IC title?
Yeah, I guess the big thing is the my only argument to that is
Yeah,
it depends on if he's coming in as a heel or a face. Because Braun is such a strong tweener and like he's going
yeah,
to get cheers. If you want Pentagon to be the baby face, he's I mean he's gonna get cheers, but like Braun's gonna get cheered just as much, if not more. If you want him to be the heel, it's like, well, then you're really kind of forcing Braun as a face, like more than,
sure.
this past feud, whatever. Um, I agree. I could get down with that. I also, a piece of me wouldn't mind, say they flipped Braun and Shinsuke. I don't think that's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. But if they flip Braun and Shinsuke, and then the first feud we got was Pentagon Shinsuke for the United States
Yeah,
title.
wouldn't mind that at all either. Now, I think some of the like tweeners we have right now, like Braun Breaker's a big tweener. He's this heel face neutral type. I remember back in our day of video games, SmackDown vs. Raw, the OG video game. There was dirty, clean. There was also neutral though too. You could be a tweener back in the day in the video games. Braun Breaker, Pentagon Jr. Let's just say hypothetically, Braun is that type of tweener where he's going to get cheers, he's going to get boos, but they really have like their finger on the pulse with Braun. Braun Breaker next week on Raw could come out to the ring getting cheers. You have him spear Jey Uso once or twice, and then he's a heel again. I think he's a guy that you definitely could just have him do that one thing or two things that turns him a little bit more face, turns him a little bit more heel, depending on the feud.
Completely agree. This is what makes the transfer window even more interesting because guys like Braun need fresh matchups, and
Yeah.
we could potentially get it with not only transfers but call ups from NXT or Pentagon debut. The last new thing that we got to talk about on Raw, they had some friction earlier in the night and they dropped the tag titles. We have new tag team champions, the War Raiders, defeating the Judgment Day. They harped on commentary. It's the exact same thing they did with Logan Paul. The heelish commentator is like, oh, they don't have to defend the titles as much, blah, blah, blah. And the face commentator is like, they should be defending it more. It is a strong gripe with Triple H that's like, of the few that I've had, there's been a few title runs, Bailey, Judgment Day, Logan Paul, where it's like they're champions, they're barely on the show or barely
Mm-hmm.
defend their titles. This feels like, again, that changing of the guard. This is that LA Knight US title run
Yeah.
where it's like, all right, here's the fresh winners. Hopefully we get, with this transfer window, there's going to be plenty of fresh matchups for the War Raiders. Let's get some stories going. I would love though. I know the War Raiders are great
Yeah.
and I don't want to like immediately be like, "Oh, I want them to be transitional champions."
Yeah.
But I want the New Day to get the straps. I want
Yeah.
heel
No.
New Day as champions.
So absolutely. I think two teams that really come to mind for me are the New Day, of course, with how hot they are right now being heels. And then I really want to see American Made, the Creed Bros, kind of get a little bit of a push down the line. I think those are two teams that you have to separate, actually, would be the New Day and American Made with this transfer window for that reason. You have a faction here and then this revisioned, New Day. You kind of have ability to push both these guys. You did mention title runs, Bailey's title run, Logan Paul. lackluster, didn't defend the title a lot, whatever it may be. I think a big difference with this Judgment Day tag title run, the Logan run, listen, I would have rather him defended the belt 15 more times. Don't get me wrong. But Logan is at least Logan Paul. I know people are going to hate that excuse, but at least he's the part timer. It's fine. Bayley, it sucks. I'm not losing sleep over it, to be honest. Bayley is a star power name for the woman, but she was a transitional champion, if we're being honest. And that just happens sometimes. Judgment Day, yeah, they definitely could have defended the titles a bit more. They could have been around a bit more, on air a bit more, matches, whatever. It doesn't always have to be some crazy feud. It can just be an open challenge sometimes, just to say you had that win over so and so. I still, though, and we are on record kind of hating on it in the past too. I'm still not really losing sleep over it, though. There's a lot of titles in wrestling now, especially with the women's IC and the women's US title. There's so much going on, so much content. There's always going to be one main thing, we'll call it, all the championships, that is going to be a little in the shadows comparative to whatever else is going on. I'm not necessarily losing sleep over the Raw tag division right now, but now that they're transitioning into a heel New Day, we got the War Raiders hot again. We got these teams coming around, transfer window. Now is your time to put the spotlight on that division and get the War Raiders defending the titles at least.
And I've said it in multiple videos in the past. I will repeat it here. Both shows are going to 3 hours again.
Yep.
And that's where, like, there is, to cut a little bit of slack, these title runs that haven't really gotten their proper defending have been 2-hour shows.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I was just thinking, as you said it, that full disclosure, we hopped right into this review the moment Raw ended. It is 10:25 as I say this. We would still have 30 minutes of Raw
35
left.
minutes.
35 minutes of Raw left.
Yeah.
Left.
Well, yes, they'd be reffing it.
They would be reffing it, as a matter of fact. Yes, you're right. Now going to Netflix, too. Now, no, the ad breaks may be different. Don't get me wrong. The show might not, culminate to 3 hours total, but we're going to get more content. We're going to get a fuller show, whether it be promos, matches, whatever it may be, with no cable commercials, no hard cutoff end time. They have a lot more ability to do these things.
So there's big moments on Raw coming up. I am excited. I know next week is taped. All you jabronis out there complaining about the tape shows, it is literally just
jabronis.
It's just end of November, end of December that we get it for the holidays. Give me a break. And on top of it, when it's a tape show, they, if it's something great, I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch it anyway. This looks great.
100%.
If it's not that great, I'm like, all right, I have my Friday night now. Or all right, I have my Monday night to watch Monday Night Football. It is not the end of the world.
And now listen, we have a wrestling YouTube channel. We are in the world of wrestling. I go on social media and it's wrestling. That's a lot of what my feeds are. I still just stay away from the spoilers. Some things slip through. It's not really that difficult, though, if we're being honest.
I have no idea what happened on SmackDown.
No idea. I have not seen a thing from SmackDown. And you know what? I'm not clicking the links that say SmackDown spoilers. That's going to ruin it a lot. Don't get me wrong. People spoil things. You might see a photo, a video here and there. It's not going to ruin the show for me. These taped shows, if you got a problem with them, tell you what. Why don't you work on Christmas? All right? How about that?
Yeah, someone who has worked plenty on every single Thanksgiving and multiple Christmases. Go ahead, have fun,
Yeah.
But they have plenty of content. We'll be live for the Raw debut on Netflix right here doing our live reactions. We just did one for Saturday night's main event. Very fun time.
Very fun time.
Chat and wrestling, literally talking about what's going on or the most random things in wrestling, memories, funny moments, impressions, nonsense, you name it. Come hang out with us. It's always a fun time. January 6th, Raw. See our live reactions to what is pretty much a PLE.
This is going to be the biggest Raw of all time. I remember a little bit younger, that Raw 1000. Man, that was something special going into it. That was the biggest Raw ever. This has a feel 10 times that. So what you got to do is you got to be tuned into Raw. You also got to be subscribed to C2. Get those notifications. They will tell you when we go live for not only that event, but all the events in the foreseeable future. I'm Snowden.
I'm CTD.
C2 Wrestling.